As for this activity, we were given a task to relate our topic for this week to a movie also provided to us. In this presentation, we will be sharing our comprehensive ideas and how we perceive the movie and its correlation to the topic. The movie that was provided is entitled The Man on Fire, a movie about an ex-CIA operative, John Creasy, who was hired to be the bodyguard of a 9-year-old daughter of a famous and wealthy businessman. Upon watching this movie, there were numerous scenarios in the film that we have gathered which have a connection to the topic and with the psychological aspect in general. The movie has a huge role in portrayal of our topic, which was all about emotions, how it functions, its triggers, and in other aspects as well. Since the entire film revolves around the genre of action and drama, it is not difficult to notice different parts which have utilized all sorts of emotion, from the characters themselves, the storyline itself, and even the impact and wave of emotions it can give to the audience. There will be further discussion along the way and other additional information that we have managed to garner, in which we have perceived mostly through a scientific approach.
Man on Fire is a 2004 action thriller film that was directed by Tony Scott from a screenplay by Brian Helgeland, and is also based on the 1980 novel of the same name written by an English novelist named Philip Nicholson, also known by his pen name A.J. Quinnell. The movie was released on April 24, 2004. In this film, Denzel Washington portrays the protagonist named John W. Creasy, an alcoholic former U.S. Marine Corps Force reconnaissance captain and ex-CIA operative who's given up his life until he was convinced to work as a bodyguard by his old friend named Paul Rayburn, who was played by Christopher Walken. He was hired to be the bodyguard of a 9-year-old girl named Lupita Ramos, nicknamed Pita, who was portrayed by Dakota Fanning.
A wave of kidnappings has swept through Mexico, feeding a growing sense of panic among its wealthier citizens, especially parents. In one 6-day period, there were 24 abductions, leading many to hire bodyguards for their children. Into this world enters John Creasy, a burnout ex-CIA who has given up on life. Creasy's friend Rayburn brings him to Mexico City to be a bodyguard for a 9-year-old Pita Ramos. Creasy is not interested in being a bodyguard, especially to a youngster, but for lack of something better to do, he accepts the assignment. Creasy barely tolerates the precocious child and her pestering questions about him and his life, but slowly she chips away at his seemingly impenetrable exterior. His defenses drop and he opens up to her. Creasy's newfound purpose in life is shattered when Pita is kidnapped. Despite being seriously wounded during the kidnapping, he vows to keep anyone involved in or profiting from the kidnapping, and no one can stop him.
There is a close relationship between Man on Fire movie and an individual psychology. Denzel Washington creates a believable sympathetic character here, character complex enough to deserve more than fancy action scenes. In the beginning of the movie, it was shown that Creasy was an alcoholic loner who even attempts suicide. Alcohol intoxication itself may act as a trigger for suicidal thoughts and attempts among individuals at risk, and may influence the potential lethality of the suicide attempt. John Creasy is pretty much dead on the inside and is a hard-drinking alcoholic to numb the painful memories of all the people he killed in his lifetime. Alcohol abuse may lead to suicidality through disinhibitions, impulsiveness, and impaired judgment, but it may also be used as a means to ease the distress associated with committing an act of suicide. Increased suicide risk may be heralded by social withdrawal and breakdowns of social bonds, which was also seen in the movie.
Frustration creates a state of autonomic arousal, which results in aggression as an outlet. According to Lawrence, 1966, he suggested that fighting between members of species short before killing actual takes place. When Pita was actually kidnapped, Creasy vowed that he'll kill anyone who's involved in the kidnapping. People lacked natural weapons which to kill opponents, so the mechanism inhibiting the use of this is also lacking. Defensive and offensive aggression can be recognized in humans without great difficulty, and humans have a natural propensity aggression or natural tendency to behave in a particular way. Motivations may well be emotionally based, owing to frustration or anger, dislike of others, or disempowerment due to one's circumstances. Strong emotions activates the ANS and hormonal systems, provides fuel for the mechanisms of the aggression.
Emotions are the feelings that people have in response to events or situations. According to the American Psychological Association or APA, the sort of emotion a person feels is determined by the situation that causes the emotion. When a person receives excellent news, for example, they are happy. When a person is threatened, they feel fear. Our daily lives appear to be ruled by many emotions, whether we are happy, angry, sad, bored, or dissatisfied influences our decisions. We pick activities and hobbies based on how they make us feel. Understanding our emotions can make life easier and more stable for us. According to Don Hackenberry and Sandra E. Hackenberry's book, Discovering Psychology, an emotion is a three-part psychological state that includes a subjective experience, a physiological response, and a behavioral or expressive response.
Emotions are mental states, also referred to as a mental disturbances, that are linked to certain subjective feelings and behavioral responses. Emotions are used to define priority among different goals or as a cues to change goal-directed plans and behaviors, including social communication by Oatley and Jenkins 1996. During the shootout, when the kidnappers are going to get Pitha, she is overwhelmed with shock, fear, and at the same time love for Chrissy. Fear is a complicated set of behaviors that encompasses both the expression and experiencing of an emotional event and love since she cannot leave him behind. Next one is the grief of the mother when she knew her child is taken, and anger when the transaction failed so she takes it out on the people that plan it. The anger that Chrissy felt the moment he gained consciousness and learned that Pita died, then he plans to torture the kidnappers, which made all of them tremble in fear before dying. The end part is the happiness that the mother felt after they get reunited.
This film depicts a variety of psychological issues or factors that affect both adults and children. The lead depicts himself as a heavy drinker. Alcohol is a coping tool for those who are suffering with stress, depression, anxiety, or difficulty expressing their thoughts. Another is post-traumatic stress disorder, which he may have had as a former agent when he killed or injured someone in the line of duty. Being a member of a gang or organization has a major implication, including exposure to drugs and alcohol, difficulty in finding work due to lack of education and work skills, and others who use it for social relationships that give them a sense of identity. Psychologists relate the psychopathic traits to an abusive upbringing and abductors, but the causes are complex in nature. According to psychologists, those who have had such an unhappy childhood feel helpless, and as they grow older, they feel the desire for power and control, which they try to compensate by gaining authority over other people. Since the little girl was taken, she may experience trauma and shock and feel helpless.
We were able to gather enough information from the movie to be able to connect it to the previous discussion. The film's ability to manipulate the emotions and viewpoints of viewers cannot be disputed. However, John Creasy's almost suicidal life and how Pita, a kid, was able to help him through it is undeniable. As has been mentioned numerous times in this presentation, this film contains distressing violence that are relevant to our subject matter because they center on Chrissy, who was seriously injured during the kidnapping of Pita, feeling vengeful, and he vows to kill anyone involved in or profiting from the kidnapping. With regard to the entirety of our presentation, we were able to show that there is good evidence that humans share common biological bases and can be acquired by anyone depending on their environment for the universality of emotions such as fear, anger, sadness, and joy. As a result, we now have an improve understanding of mental states and how they operate in our daily lives as a result of watching this film and doing this activity.